Das sind positive Vibrationen in diesen Klimazonen, ungewohnte Position gegen Popmusik und Produktion von Pornoclips, die Rotation von fortschrittlicher Wortphysik. Das sind positive Vibrationen in diesen Klimazonen, ungewohnte Position gegen Popmusik und Produktion von Pornoclips, die Rotation von fortschrittlicher Wortphysik. Ich bin super drauf, ausgesprochen gut gelaunt, aufgestaute Wut im Bauch wird kompensiert durch kongeniale, coole Sounds. Niemand hat's mir zugetraut, Tiefgang so wie U-Bahn-Bau. Hör dir dieses Lied an, wir liefern euch einen Super-GAU. Bedeutet, dass es was zu klotzen gibt, ich rock den Shit so intensiv, explosiv, dass du Farben schmeckst und Optik schiebst. Frag nicht, was im Kopf geschieht, wenn er vom Sockel fliegt. Die Energie ist kosmisch, mein Kerosin brennt kognitiv für Props und Benzin. Kost und Logis, komm ich vorbei in deiner Stadt mit positiven Raps und Beats. Exklusiver Testbetrieb, Rap-Physik für Technik-Freaks, exzessive Formeln für Form neuer Rap-Musik. Rette sich wer kann, die Welle rollt nicht erst seit gestern ran und flutet unvermutet heiß, wir stecken euer Nest in Brand. Widerstand ist zwecklos, lasst es sein, ihr eckt nur an. Wir flashen euch beim Auftritt, bis auf den letzten Mann.
I don't know, Leipzig, it's definitely a bubble. You can really get lost in this bubble. And I find it very easy to stay, very hard to leave. Yeah, it's incredible. Like what kind of like the degree of collectively organized groups and like so much infrastructure being provided.
And then in Leipzig there is a lot of self-organized communities like house projects, which really surprised me a lot because that's what the left scene in Russia still lacks. Like I haven't really seen people being so very into self-organizing as here in Leipzig. It seems to be like really like boiling. I mean, not the condition of, it's not the tension, but I mean the concentration of people. There are very many active people here, and it's like another city inside the city because they really create their own spaces and projects and
all these big house projects. Yeah, that's really cool with the child because I'm a single mother and we don't have it so much in my hometown. And here, house project with 20 people and really big. And yeah, it's a big help to live in a house with other people. Like I can give my energy in the house and I can get energy from the house. They take care of my child and it's a good way to live.
Years ago in 2011 we bought a place with some houses, old houses that had to be renovated a lot, and then we wanted to build a commune, and then we started with the garden project in the next year, so in 2012, and slowly built up this solidarian agriculture project. And yeah, we have 180 portions, and many people share the portions. So maybe that it's like 500 or more people eating the vegetables directly. We only wanted to like do the gardening stuff and wanted the other people to help us organize the rest. And we didn't want to go to marketplaces and sell our products, but we wanted to give the food to a community of people, and that the people start to self-organize themselves. We only bring the vegetables into the town, that the people can decide themselves how much they want to pay. So at the beginning of the year, we tell the people, look, we want to grow this and this vegetables, we want to buy those machines, we will want to have this salary. And so we make really transparent all the costs that we have, and then the people can decide how much they are willing to give each month, and they write it on a piece of paper, put it into a box, we count out if it's enough to pay everything. And so this is really like a planned economy for 1 year always, for one season.
Totalement le pays le plus industrialisé d'Europe qui a la Massentierhaltung, la production animalière la plus dégueulasse d'Europe aussi. Et en même temps, ils ne dérangent personne parce qu'ils vivent leurs expériences à côté de gens qui, eux, vont aller bouffer leurs trucs chez Aldi et Lidl. Et ça, c'est 80% des Allemands.
Hey, what do you think about revolutionary Marxism?
I want to speak it out.
All right.
No,
Cool.
fair enough.
Thanks.
In Germany, we have a lot of rich history, yeah, of socialism and practical socialism and communism, and I say we're not through with our critics on communism and with especially the communism which is practiced or was practiced in the States. Of course, you have Berlin, one center of the radical left, Hamburg, Leipzig now, and where else? Well, Dortmund has a rich left movement because part is Dortmund. The right movement is really strong, so you have the counterpart there is really radical and left. But Leipzig is one of the centers. Yeah, you are in Leipzig. Yeah, it's one. Well, it's not that center, but it's the center of anti-Deutsch or anti-German movement. But it's not that anti-German movement, you know, from the 90s. We have to be aware that this state is now a new power in Europe, and that you have to be aware about the history of Germany. What happened when Germany was always strong in Europe? You know, it always led to war, and so anti-German is part of an historical remembrance to be aware of Germany and the actions of the country within Europe. You know, our grandparents were involved in the Shoah and in killing Jewish people. So it's hard to deal with it. So for me personally, I wouldn't criticize Israel so much. You know.
Somebody said if we would discuss on Monday about like another country where there's a war going on and stuff like this, and we would discuss on Friday about Israel, so it would be okay, but the focus is always on Israel is bad and doing wrong things. That's up.
That's something.
And it was also very important that this intervention took place because there was a very anti-Semitic left in Germany in the 70s.
Okay.
Like there's a right-wing like not a party but a right-wing movement on our streets shouting like really shitty shit, and you don't want that. And that's what drives us all crazy. And so Pegida stands for Patriotic Europeans Against the Islamization of the West.
That's fun.
It's a pretty weird acronym, but yeah, they started in Dresden, which is the capital of Saxony in East Germany, but they spread out pretty quickly to other cities, including Leipzig. And in Leipzig, it's called Legida, which stands for Leipzig Against whatever. And then there's New Gida in Nuremberg, and there's like lots of Gidas. They are all united in the Gida family. And so what they did is they started in, I think, in October 2014 in Dresden with a couple of maybe 100 people. Like they were initiated by this guy called Lutz Bachmann, and they started as a civil movement. That's what they claim to be, and they sooner or later they started using the popular claim that has been used during the peaceful German Revolution in '89. We are the people, wir sind das Volk, and that's what they started to claim. Within a couple of weeks, they reached a few thousand people, and they did that every Monday in Dresden, and then it also was catalyzed by the internet because it was all about a social media movement then. What's been very clear since last autumn is that very apparent right-wing opinions can be conveyed without any hesitation. in terms of refugee struggle, definitely, because I can see drastic improvements in Dresden, for example. People are engaging so much more in solidarity, in terms of solidarity with the refugees.
I don't like that separation, that making difference between people. This is refugee. I'm speaking about the groups. For example, the groups who are active, because in some groups you can find people, refugee and not refugee, German, non-German. I don't like that separation. For example, this is refugee, this is non-refugee. They are supporter, we are supported. I don't like. We can do what we want together. If I return to Tunisia, what is the solution there? Oppression and depression and everything with Asian. There are a lot of ideas here and experiences that I think that can help there. When I want to offend, first I go to the company there, Teleperformance. I ask them. I thought that maybe I will find a solution in Athens. And I met a member of Syriza. I thought that he can help me, but he told me that they can't do anything. Their situation is very bad.
And stick the finger to Germany.
Ils m'ont forcé de get down معناتها من train parce que j'ai pas d'argent. Alors j'ai passé un mois à Lebec avec des Tunisiens. J'ai rencontré quelques Tunisiens là-bas. Mais après, I was sick and tired. I was fed up with them. They have some ideas, and most of them I found that they are supportive of ISIS. They are Salafis there in that mosque, in the moschee there. I didn't have an idea about the refugee law and asylum seekers, and most of the people, many people of them, they were telling me that they will deport you if you apply for asylum. Don't apply for asylum, you have your fingerprints and everything. So I was hesitant. I'm sitting in a place où se trouvent les différentes asylum seeker people who came, immigrants, muhajirin, les immigrants de Tunisie, de Maroc, de Kosovo. Anyone who for example, go to the police station and he said that he want to apply for asylum. They sent him first to that place, and that place in Kemnis, it looks like a prison. There are high building, there is a garden, there is a place, yard in the middle, and it's big fence. And there is a restaurant, they give you 30 euro per every week, and food it's without money. So the left groups, I think that they are not so active, because if they were active, they will go to the Heims there, to the big Heims, and make publicity and speak with people there, or even to the other Heims. For example, in the Heim, in the small Heim where I live, there is no groups, there is no people who come there and speak with people.
If we want to fight for an anarchist or a communist society, or at least a not capitalist one, how to call it, we need to question how to organize, because living is living in collectives, and collectives have to be connected to each other. So we have to struggle with these questions, and I think there we can learn a lot. And this European way of anarchism is sometimes, seems to me, a little bit individualized and not taking this question really serious. Yeah, and out of that reason we got in contact with the Kurdish movement, and were really inspired by seeing how the transformation of the ideology from the PKK to this new paradigm, how they call it. They are guerrilla, like they have the practice of a guerrilla in a war is has a different function than an army has. Army is centralized, you have your headquarters, and a guerrilla is basically an anarchist way. This idea, I think, went a little bit deeper in a way what's not only about war, it's about how to organize and to see, okay, we need a collective way of the will, and we need a collective idea of our ethics, and then we have to trust each other, that we take on our own decisions and try to do something and then reflect on it.
mais ils sont pas dans la même situation. Enfin, tu vois, tu peux pas être en guerre et être en lutte là où, eh ben, tu vois, tu peux pas l'inventer.
Non, c'est vrai.
C'est comme tu peux pas genre demander aux ouvriers de faire une lutte de classe. S'il y a pas de lutte des classes, c'est aussi hyper peace. Il y a un côté non violent. Il n'y a pas de problématique et questionnement sur la violence. Et c'est des gens qui peuvent rester non violents dans leur petit camp, gentils, on fait de la musique. Mais quand il s'agirait de genre, exproprier des gens ou des terres ou des industries qui vraiment polluent, ils ne seraient pas capables de le faire. Enfin, parce qu'il n'y a pas de réflexion sur la violence. Il y a juste des modes de vie autonomes, alternatifs, dans des campagnes, mais où tu ne seras jamais vraiment en train de te battre contre le problème même contre lequel tu es en train de théoriser ou contre lequel tu es en train de dresser ton mode de vie, quoi. Donc ce sera des gens qui vont vivre en commun, autonomes, bien entre eux, mais quand ils rencontreront des gens hors de ça, ils seront toujours très supérieurs ou on va dire il y aura un certain snobisme vis-à-vis des gens qui vont encore manger chez Aldi, qui vont encore manger chez Lidl et qui n'ont pas compris à quel point c'était important de manger bio. Puis c'est aussi l'idée du slow process, c'est-à-dire c'est même pas du réformisme, c'est les choses se font sur le long terme. Donc il y a une idée de la longue durée, la lutte sur la longue durée.